with a blend of tradition and the latest in television technology. We're building tomorrow's memories today, right here on NBC. Today, it's the Major League Baseball game of the week. It's the first-place Cubs in Montreal playing the Expos. Montreal has beaten the Cubs 2 in a row now. Some of you will see the defending world champion Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles are now tied for third place with the New York Yankees. But it's Baltimore up against those red-hot Blue Jays today. The Blue Jays are fast on the heels of the Detroit Tigers. But first up, it's Major League Baseball, an inside look at baseball and a preview of today's game. Brought to you by Ice Blue Aqua Velva, because there's something about an Ice Blue Aqua Velva man. And by Lowenbrow. Tonight, let it be Lowenbrow. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to the game of the week. Len Berman in New York. Coming up, we will be spending an afternoon in Canada. It's either the Cubs in Montreal or the Orioles in Toronto. The Cubs, after sweeping the Mets, have now lost 2 in a row to the Expos. Last night, it was 4-2 Montreal. But the Cubs' lead is still 4.5 as the Mets have now lost 6 straight. Last night, they lost to Pittsburgh. Now, typical of the Mets' losing streak, look at this pop-up. Johnny Ray hits it. Keith Hernandez, the first baseman. Kelvin Chapman, the second baseman, drops it. The Pirates go on to win it by a score of 4-1. In the American League, the Tigers on Rupert Jones's pinch hit homer beat Kansas City, final there 5-4. But the hot Blue Jays kept pace, shutting out Baltimore 2-0, a 3-hitter for Doyle Alexander. American League West, 21 hits for those surprising Minnesota Twins. They beat Seattle 13-7. And California lost to Oakland 7-6 in 10 innings, so the Twins pick up another game. Top of the 10th inning in Anaheim, Jim Essian's bunt. Luis Sanchez throws it away for the Angels. Mike Davis scores the winning run as the A's beat the Angels. Final score there of 7-6. Now, for some of the other top stories of this week around Major League Baseball, let's focus on the pennant races. The largest lead, still the Padres. It was a week where they slumped a bit, even though Alan Wiggins stole home for the second time this year. The Tigers are starting to hear footsteps. The struggling Jack Morris gave up grand slams in back-to-back innings to the Red Sox. Morris's second half has turned into a nightmare. His earned run average soaring. The Tigers' lead is shrinking. Reggie will sit out today's game. It's a reduced one-game suspension because of this action. The American League West continues to be at least a 5-team scramble. But the wildest action this week, the National League East. The Cubs and Mets staged the classic August I hate you, you hate me pennant race series. When the dust had cleared, there were 6 ejections. Coaches and spectators had to be restrained. And even Keith Hernandez made a wild pitch at a fan. But after the 4-game sweep by Chicago, it was all love and kisses in the Cubs dugout. First place has a way of bringing a team closer together. In the American League West, the Minnesota Twins have a 1.5-game lead over second-place California. Chicago's 2.5 out. Kansas City 3.5. Oakland only 6. In the American League East, Detroit's lead is 8. The key there, Toronto is only 6 games out in the loss column. National League West, the Padres and Braves split a doubleheader last night, so San Diego's lead is holding steady at 9.5. Now, for the National League East story, let's go to Vin Scully, Joe Garagiola in Montreal. Bonjour, Vin.
Merci, Len. How do you like that?
Oh, I love it.
Did that get your attention?
Yes, yes. Good thing we're in Kansas City.
Getting someone's attention is the subject right now. The Chicago Cubs play in a madhouse called Wrigley Field. They knock off the New York Mets 4 straight. Suddenly they come to the peace and quiet of La Belle Provence, Montreal, Quebec, and they lose 2 in a row. Let down.
Well, I think it's possible, and I go by my own career. When we used to come into Ebbets Field with the Cardinals and Dodgers, it was really a war. And whatever ground we would pick up, it would seem like we would lose it when we went to Philadelphia. They were in last place then, and we figured, oh, we can take these guys. And we'd leave Philadelphia, and whatever ground we made up was gone. So it is possible. Not so much the crowds, but just the fact that they're playing Montreal.
One thing, the ground that they have made up is not lost, because as you can see in the standings, the New York Mets have now lost 6 in a row, and they trail the Cubs by 4.5. And unless there is a drastic turnabout on both fronts, it looks like it's going to wind up that way.
And the Mets look like they might have some trouble in that clubhouse.
And
a
how?
la Darryl Strawberry case.
And with that, back to you, Len.
Okay, Vin, Joe was alluding to the fact that Darryl Strawberry benched and fined for arriving late yesterday to batting practice. Well, when we continue on our pregame report, it's Hall of Fame weekend in lovely Cooperstown, New York. We'll have that report for you when we return in just a minute. Drysdale, Aparicio, Killebrew, Ferrell, and Reese. It's their weekend of baseball's Hall of Fame in Cooperstown, New York, and Bob Costas reports for us now.
The village of Cooperstown, located 210 miles northwest of New York City. A truly lovely and quiet little town with an honest-to-goodness Main Street and a genuine sense of history. It was here in Cooperstown that James Fenimore Cooper penned his leather-stocking tales, including The Last of the Mohegans, stories which depicted what life was like here a century and a half ago, just about the time that some people will tell you baseball was born. It was in 1839, so the story goes, that Abner Doubleday invented the game of baseball right here in this little village. Now, there's serious doubt as to whether any of that is literally true. But in a game that thrives on myth and legend, that story will do as well as any. And so it was that in 1939, exactly 100 years after old Abner supposedly threw out the first ball right here in this town, that they opened the Baseball Hall of Fame. And it's a celebration of the game's glorious history. Balls smacked for record-breaking homers, uniforms worn by the Flying Dutchman, the Georgia Peach, and the Bambino. But if there's one thing that sets Cooperstown apart, that truly adds to its mystique, it's this room, the plaques accorded to those who are certified as the greatest of all time, the members of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Names like Ruth, DiMaggio, Mays, Banks, and Mantle. And tomorrow, 5 more join the ranks of baseball's immortals. Don Drysdale of the Dodgers, 1962 Cy Young Award winner when he went 25-9. And in 1968, Big D hurled a still record 58 2/3 consecutive scoreless innings. Rick Ferrell, a lifetime .281 hitter and standout defensive catcher in the 30s and 40s with the Senators, Browns, and Red Sox. A clutch hitter and stylish shortstop, Pee Wee Reese was one of the best loved of the boys of summer, the captain of those great Brooklyn Dodger teams of the 40s and 50s. In the history of baseball, no one has played more games at shortstop than Luis Aparicio. And for 9 consecutive seasons, Little Louie led the American League in stolen bases. The first Minnesota Twin in the Hall of Fame, Harmon Killebrew, led the American League in homers 6 times, and his 573 lifetime round trippers rank him 5th on the all-time list. Drysdale, Ferrell, Reese, Aparicio, and Killebrew. They'll all be there tomorrow, enshrined forever in Cooperstown.
Some will argue how come Phil Rizzuto, Orena Slaughter, or Hoyt Wilhelm are not in the Hall of Fame. But there will be no argument about this guy when his day is due to be inducted or voted into the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose joins us from Montreal. And Pete, what are your thoughts about the Hall of Fame this weekend and your probable inclusion someday?
Well, first of all, I was one of the fortunate players to be able to hit against Don Drysdale, a tremendous pitcher. Pee Wee Reese is one of my good friends, and he probably appreciates going to the Hall of Fame more than anybody that's went in there in quite a few years. And the good thing about Pee Wee going in there, that probably made a lot of guys he played with happy, too, because Pee Wee was a credit to the Dodgers and a credit to the game, and he's still in contact with the game, making the bats for the players, and I'm just very happy for Pee Wee. And, of course, Harmon Killebrew, I played against my first All-Star game in Minnesota in 1965, and a tremendous home run hitter and a good defensive ball player. And you're just happy for guys.